Hey everybody, and welcome back to Lindsey's Little Library. So we're here to do my April wrap up. April was a phenomenal month. I have read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books. It's kind of like April made up for March. March is usually the month I read a ton of books, but I read a ton in April. I kind of feel like I'm cheating slightly because a bunch of them were novellas, and I'll get to that in a second and explain that. But lots of books and lots of audio and Kindle books. So not a whole lot of physical, only these 3. So, but it was a good month. So let's just dive into it so this video isn't forever. First one I read is Learning to See. This is by Elise Hooper, and I'm looking at my notes over here, just so you know. This I thought was nonfiction, but it's not. It is historical fiction based on a real character, a real person. This one follows the life of, what is her name? Oh, Dorothea Lange. She was quite the inspirational photographer during the Great Depression and then the beginning of World War II, once, like, right after Pearl Harbor happened. She was someone who ended up in California kind of randomly and by fate, and just had this way of capturing real life before kind of that was a more common thing to do. Right now, with the technology we have and the fact that we have basically a camera at our fingertips at all times, we're capturing real life. But at that point, it wasn't necessarily something that would happen all the time. So she would photograph what life really looked like during the Great Depression, what life looked like once the Japanese internment camps came about. She was pretty on the leading edge of things. She had to make some crazy, really hard decisions about life. It was definitely interesting. I want to say, what did I give it? Maybe 4, 3.5 stars. Yeah, that's pretty on point, what I was guessing. It was good. It was a good audiobook. I don't know, it was fine. One of those. Then I picked up The Teacher by Frida McFadden. This was a NetGalley book for me. This one, it's Frida McFadden. It's always something twisted and convoluted and mysterious and crazy, as always. I do have to say I've read a fair amount of Frida McFadden books lately, and I wouldn't say this one was really the best. Kind of the premise is around inappropriate relationship between a teacher and a student that goes a little bit too far, that potentially kind of leads to there's a murder involved, but it just wasn't her best. I think I also give this one 3.5 stars. Fine, it's a quick read if you're looking for a quick read, but it feels kind of forgettable to me. Definitely wasn't like The Housemaid. Like, that one is one that when I think Frida McFadden, that's where I tend to go through. I don't think I would think of The Teacher. I think that's a better way to describe it, you know? Okay, next one we read was Sevene Slip. This is by Ashley Poston. This is my first book that I've read by her. I was really excited to get to it. This was for book club. This follows our 2 characters. I can't think of the one guy's name. We have Clementine and what's his name? We'll go with Clementine. Her and her aunt have been really, really close for basically her whole life. And she ends up inheriting the apartment that her aunt lived in New York. And so she moves in there, and her aunt has always kind of told her, like, there's magic that happens within this apartment. And she soon realizes or discovers that the magic that happens is this apartment takes you 7 years in the past. So she ends up meeting somebody, but he's from 7 years in the past. And they end up having this really amazing relationship, and she's at this point in her life where she's just really grieving her aunt. And he helps her really kind of through this. I really enjoyed this book. I gave this 4 stars. What else did I read? Love the time travel element. I do want to give you a warning. If you're a stickler for like plot holes, like if you're a stickler for things have to really make sense in order for you to kind of believe in that magic, there were some some parts that I'm like, oh, it's a little far-fetched. I'm not quite sure I can get there. But when I'm reading, I usually jump on board with wherever the author is taking me. So it was not perfect, but it was definitely enjoyable. Really liked it. And I absolutely want to read more by her. I know she wrote The Dead Romantics, which I have over there. I'm not sure where I have it. But I definitely want to get to that one as well. And I did end up reading another one by her, which we'll get to in a minute. Then I picked up the Behemoth Iron Flame, Rebecca Yarros. This was part of the 5-star predictions. This was, so I just talked about this like last week in my follow-up. I'm still teetering. I think I said in that I gave it 5 stars. I'm kind of teetering at 4.5 because I continue to remember parts of this book where it's this young adult, young relationship supposed to be angst, but it was so eye-rolly to me. And maybe that's I've been married for 19 years self. Like, come on, get over yourself. Like, do you want to be with them or not? And part of that is trusting. That's just how it is, period. So there's that, but then there's really good snarkiness. There's really good battle scenes. There's really good, like, she was able to take this insane story that was built in Fourth Wing and really add on to it and really continue it and give us all kinds of the fun stuff. So I enjoyed it. Definitely. Just be prepared for stupid young adult angst, I guess. We'll call it that. All right. Then I picked up, I know I'm like, okay, what did I do next? Oh, I listened to Carrie, SoDo is Back. This is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was the one following Malibu Rising. So Taylor Jenkins Reid has been doing some really cool companion novels, starting with The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, then going to Daisy Jones and the Six. So 7 Husbands was in like the 60s, Daisy Jones was in the 70s, Malibu Rising was in the 80s, and Carrie, SoDo is Back is in the 90s. And they kind of all have this theme that connects them, similar to how Abby Jimenez does things. So this one follows Carrie, SoDo, and she is beyond amazing tennis star in her day. She's a little rough around the edges though. Like, she doesn't take stuff from she's tough. And it follows her and her relationship with her dad, Javier, and him helping her try to be the best tennis player in the world. And so we go back a little bit from when she was first starting out and then forward in time to her kind of getting back in the game and trying to reclaim her titles. I, again, really enjoyed it. I listened to this one on audio. I gave this one 4 stars. I liked it better than Malibu Rising. So I'm excited to see what Taylor Jenkins Reid has in store for us next, right? Then another audiobook I listened to was Funny Story by Emily Henry, which just came out. I got this one through Libro FM and I devoured this book. 5 stars. This was fantastic. I love how Emily Henry has some sort of tie to the bookish community within her books. And this one, our main character was a children's librarian. It was so great. It's romance. There's some comedy to it. There's some, I wouldn't say it's enemies to lovers, but, fake dating. There's a fake dating trope to it. But it was really good. It was really good. I really loved the characters. I loved, what's his name? Miles. Oh my God. It was so good. Not good enough for me to remember names, but nothing ever is, right? Never remember names. But I enjoyed that. That one was one I continued. I would just sit and listen to it while doing anything. It wasn't just one that, like the first book I talked about, Learning to See, I really only listened to that when I was walking the dog. This one was kind of constantly in my ear. Then I switched things up a little bit. I needed a little bit of a historical fiction kick. Kind of did a random little glance at my shelves and was like, I remember being really excited about this book when I bought it, and I haven't read it yet since I got it like 4 years ago. So I picked up The Words I Never Wrote. This is by Jane Thine, I believe. Historical fiction is set during World War II, and we have 2 sisters. We have Cordelia and start with a B. What is Cordelia's? Oh, Irene. Cordelia and Irene. They're sisters. They lived in England, but Irene ends up marrying a German industrialist, and that happened right before the war kind of broke out. And so they had moved to Berlin, Germany. He is running a manufacturing plant that his family had owned. And then kind of things start kicking up with Hitler and the Nazi Party, which her husband gladly joins. And then Cordelia is in England, and her kind of dream is to become a journalist. And she ends up in Paris for a little bit, and she's kind of on that other, like the Allies side of the war. What I love about this is we got glimpses of before the war, during World War II, and after the war. And this all came about because another character named Juno, who is now in present day New York, comes across this Underwood, this typewriter from the 30s. And she was buying it for like a photo shoot or something like that. And she opens up the case and she ends up finding this like half-finished novel. Well, it's written by Cordelia, who obviously is the journalist. And so she gets really invested in the story and wants to figure out what happened to Irene, what happened to Cordelia, how did it all come about. And so she kind of jumps and dives into that. So loved it. I love the writing, was beautiful. It took me a little bit to kind of get used to when we jumped into the book, but absolutely fantastic. This one will stick with me for a while. It's going to be good. And I already have like my grandma's wanting it. My aunt is wanting it. It's going to get passed around for sure. So that was a pleasant surprise. I like that. Okay. Then I just finished reading Saving Noah. I had that from on my Kindle. That one's by Lucinda Berry. It's for book club, I think next month. And I'm torn because I feel like it was hyped. It was hyped pretty big on TikTok as being like one of the scariest or most disturbing books people have read. I heard people really cried a ton while they read it, which, don't get me wrong, very sad book. So we have Noah. It basically centers around Noah and his mom. And Noah is not a great kid and does not do... He messes up big time and ends up assaulting, in a not great way, a little girl. And you go through kind of the aftermath of it, of him seeking treatment and getting tried in juvenile court and his release. And we go from there. It was slow at times, but I was warned about that. And I didn't cry. I mean, it was sad. It was a good book for considering the subject. It was written well. I definitely felt for the characters. There was some surprising things that came out. But I wouldn't say it was like this jaw-dropping, oh my goodness, kind of a book. So either I'm getting desensitized or I don't know what's wrong. It didn't quite have the same reactions as others have. So we'll go with that. Throughout the month, I kind of got sucked into this rabbit hole of novellas that are Amazon exclusives. There are 6 of them, and it's called the Improbable Meet Cute Collection. They're romance, all centered around like Valentine's Day. And I believe that's when they kind of came out. So you have 6 very well-known romance authors. We have Christina Lauren, Abby Jimenez, Sally Thorne, Jasmine Guillory, Ashley Poston, and Sarah Wilson. So I read 4 of them. I read the first 4 of them. And they're super fast. And why it was working out is because we've been having a lot of basketball tournaments because, hello, that's our life right now. And they're really good on tournament days because it only takes me an hour or 2 to get through them. So it's quick enough and easy enough of a read for me to be reading in the midst of chaos that's usually happening. And I get through them pretty fast. And so that's how I was able to get through 4 of them. So far, we have definitely some winners. We have one that I was like eye-rolly. So of the 4 I've read, I read The Exception to the Rule by Christina Lauren. That one I gave 4 stars. I read Worst Wingman Ever by Abby Jimenez. Also gave that 4 stars. Those 2 are absolutely my favorites. I loved those. I've read Rosie and the Dreamboat by Sally Thorne. That one, 3.5 to 4 stars. I did enjoy that. That was really funny. That one was definitely funny. And then I just finished Drop, Cover, and Hold On by Jasmine Guillory, and I really did not like that one at all. Like, if you want to skip one, you can skip that one. I still have to read With Any Luck and Royal Valentine. Those are my last two. I just about started Royal Valentine, but then I realized that's actually the last one, and I have been reading them in order, so now I need to go and read With Any Luck. That's the Ashley Poston one, which I thought I had already read, but I didn't apparently. So that's okay. We'll get to those. Overall, again, they're really good palette cleansers. They're good to, like, if you're looking for something quick in the midst of a couple of heavier books, or just ones to have on your Kindle for those quicker reads. Absolutely, I would totally suggest that. Now that I know about this and that they do this, there is a collection of books that are historical fiction based that I think I'll kind of move into next. I gotta figure out what those are called. Okay, I didn't find the historical fiction ones, but I did just find more of a mystery bundle. It's called the Never Tell series. It says, how well do you know people? How well do they know you? 6 best-selling authors of suspense explore the lingering threat of secrets and the inescapable fear that they can't stay buried forever. So there's Liv Constantine. That's the one I recommend. Andrea Bartz, Rachel Hall, Ivy Pachata. Oh, Caroline Kepnes. Ooh, might do this one. But I didn't know about that one, but I feel like there is. Oh, here it is. It is the Blaze series. Sweeps readers back in time with exhilarating short stories of unforgettable female characters. Spanning decades, these incredible women broke through the barriers and despite worlds of art, war, science, love, and injustice, and paved way for the women to follow. That's right, it does focus on women in history. So like Amelia Earhart is one. And like the authors are Marie Benedict, Pam Jenoff, Maggie Shipstead, Sadiqa Johnson, and Ariel Lawhon. So that's the other one that I'm super excited about. So I'm loving that Amazon is doing this. And I know it's Kindle Unlimited. If you don't have Kindle Unlimited, oh my gosh, there's a ton of them. Oh, this could be a rabbit hole, I'm telling you. Oh, this could be bad. I'll leave a link to this below. But they're good little quick reads in between other books is what I'm saying. So if you need to get your reading goals up, this is what you do it. That's how I got to 12 books this month, I will tell you that. So now that we went on that hole, next up for what I'm reading in May, I'm currently listening to Remarkably Bright Creatures. I know I'm listening to it even though I own the book, but I've been told the audio is amazing and you guys don't disappoint. I just started this yesterday and I'm easily 100 pages into it. This is fantastic. It follows a couple characters. We have Tova, whose husband died, and she started working the night shift at the Sewell Bay Aquarium, mopping up floors and tidying up, and she ends up becoming acquainted with a giant Pacific octopus named Marcellus, who is such a curmudgeon, and he's fantastic. So I'm loving this so far. Next ups for books. I do have to read 14 Days for one of my book clubs. This was actually brought up at book club and then we decided to jump on it. It is written by 14 authors and takes place in New York during March of 2020 and all of the lockdowns. And I want to say each character is written by a different author. She said it was fantastic. I'm super intrigued. Like John Grisham, R.L. Stine. There's some other ones. Emma Donoghue. Where's the list of all the authors? I don't even know. And it was edited by Margaret Atwood. So I'm super excited. Who else is on here? Sylvia Day, Emma Donoghue, Diana Gabaldon, Tess Gerritsen, John Grisham. Yeah, there's a ton. Celestine. Tummy Orange. Who else do I recognize? James Shapiro. So I'm intrigued, to say the least. I'm very intrigued. I found this one on Pingo, so I was excited about that, but we'll see. And it covers 14 days. That's all it covers. So what do you, Stormy, he's helping himself. So those I know for sure on my next ups to read. I'm really interested in picking up Find Me, which I talked about not that long ago. That's been sitting on the side. But the other thing I've been doing is making a, I guess, alteration, a little bit of a different version of a book sleeve. So you guys are familiar with the book sleeves that I make. I don't, of course, have any right next to me. But I came across this idea of making book covers. Like, please tell me if during school you had to cover your... Okay, first of all, I went to school when you actually had textbooks, and you were required to cover them with paper bags, and then you had to doodle all over them. So kind of the concept, but with fabric. So I have been working on a pattern that would work. I think I've perfected it to the point where it fits most like bigger hardcovers or like book of the month books are really a good fit. And I'm curious if this is something you guys would be open to me having in my Etsy shop. So it goes on like this is sewed together. So that's your front flap, and then the back you fold over and it's a piece of elastic that holds it together, and your book is protected at all times. It's not like you're just pulling it out of a book sleeve and there's nothing on it. It's always protected. Or, you know, if you're reading something you don't want people to see, it's now covered. So leave me a comment below and let me know if something you're interested in. And maybe I'll post something. I don't know. I'm still messing around with it, but I don't know if there's like a market for it, I guess. So I'm going to come to you guys first. Let me know if this is something you'd like, and we'll go from there. So this has been long enough. I've been rambling on. I must have had my coffee today or something. If any of these books you want to chat about below, really saving no. I want to know, like, did I miss something? Comment below, let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.